6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Through Black and White Eyes and the Oil Brothers, a special episode. If Stefan turns up, he's a little late. Let's hope he does. But he is a busy man. He's a big fish, and we're a little pond. So we just hope he jumps in it. But we'll see. Fingers crossed. It's off, Martin. Welcome to tonight's update on all things PSR. Charges, changes have returned to Stefan to the channel, hopefully. Please like, share, subscribe, and hype to promote the show. It's free hype after the show's finished. It really helps. Join from just 99p. We will be doing 2 giveaways in December. So get yourself in there. Please adhere to standard community guidelines. Keep comments respectful and enjoy the show. Good evening, Gary, Leslie. And I believe Voltemada has scored again for Germany. He's on fire at the moment. It just shows you feed him, he scores. Just remember that, Martin. He is now the GOAT, not Sean Goater anymore. Choppy, how are you doing, pal? Big up Baz in the chat. Looking forward to this one. I sure am as well. He has, Baz. He has. Martin!
Finish waffling?
I think so.
My God, and you moan at my intros.
That's not an intro. That's the start of the show, mate. You always go through the chat. You should know that by now.
Yeah, but yeah. Don't forget this and don't forget that. Not 1, but 2.
Where's Ed?
I don't know. I'm not his mind, though.
You did send him the link, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, well, there you go. It's his own fault for being late. Right. Let's bring the man in himself. The man
Where's Dan?
Dan can't make it. He's driving. And when you're driving in America, you're driving. Trust me. Anyway, let's bring the star of the show in because he's waiting in the background.
I'm here.
Way, good evening, Stefan. How are we doing?
Good. How you doing?
Very good. Thank you so much for coming back on. So this is our new show, Oil Brothers. It's a cross between Newcastle and Man City. So I knew you'd be perfect for this because obviously you're a Man City fan and you used to work for them as well, of course. Ed's finally made it. He's walking somewhere in that beautiful sunshine. He doesn't want to say anything. He just wants to look good.
No, you cut out, man. You caught me by surprise there. How's everybody doing?
We're good, man. We're good. So we had to talk about 3 main topics tonight, and obviously Stefan's going to be talking the most because he knows a lot about them. Obviously, the 115, where both clubs sit for January transfer window, and these new rules that they're trying to bring into play, the salary cap, and so on. So we'll start with the 115 because I know Martin's desperate to try and get some news about the 115, and you got some great questions lined up, haven't you, Martin?
I'm not no direct questions.
He's going to be disappointed, I think.
Ed's got all the questions.
You sent me them, Martin. Come on, fire away, Martin.
Good evening, Stefan. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Right. I'm going to see where I put them. Right. These are
sound okay, by the way, just before we...
Yes.
Sound okay?
Yeah.
Good.
I think the opening question is probably the one that every City fan keeps expecting in the media is, when will there actually be any announcement on this? Because in the MEN, they did say it was something to do. Now, again, I'm only going off what the MEN report, that there'd been a change in chairwomanship or something, and that had delayed it slightly. So I don't know.
I don't think that's right. But there has been a chair change of the judicial panel, but that wouldn't have affected the City situation because it was already well underway. I think what it definitely says is that individual was probably not one of the 3 panel members who heard the case. Look, it's very simple in terms of where is it. We don't know, and the slight problem is that what's happened in terms of the expectation on timing is a lot of the stuff that I've been saying over the last, probably a few months, is now sort of been fed back. So it's come full circle. So some of the articles that you read are largely sort of picking at what I've said, and then that's sort of become the expectation. Now, in fairness, what I've said is only what I know is really the general expectation from senior lawyers around, including those involved in the case. So there has been an expectation that we would have had a decision by now. It was never likely to have been probably before, say, April. It was a little bit surprising that they couldn't get it out during the close season. That they hadn't therefore been given kind of enough timetable of exclusive time to work on the decision before then, but they didn't. I have felt that the decision is imminent really since the start of the season broadly, because I don't think it was ever going to come out in August, but I just think they've had enough time to write it. So in any scenario, they have had enough time to consider everything they heard. So it should therefore be in a position to be released and written up. Now that's the sort of default position, but of course we have no idea who these people are, what they've been doing, what else is going on in their world, and therefore they obviously haven't hit the expected deadlines. I also thought it made sense if they were going to bring it out during the season, which I think they are, that they would try and do it in an international break. They're not going to wait till March, I don't think. So I think if it doesn't come, in the next 48 hours, then the reality is it will come mid-season. It will interfere massively with the season because it will just drop at some point in a match week season. And we know what match weeks are like these days. There's a game on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it will be complicated if they have not got their ducks in a row to get it out. Really now, tomorrow, Wednesday. Now, I don't think there's any sign that it's coming tomorrow or Wednesday, because my information was that it wasn't with the club as of Friday. Now, it might have, club or Premier League, because they'll both get it at the same time. And then I think they'll have a period of time. We don't know exactly how long to read it. But if it's not been with them, if it's not been with the parties at the end of last week, then I doubt it's coming, tomorrow or Wednesday. And that's probably that for the international break theory. And then everybody waits. But as I say, it's not just, I'm not just making it up. This is what senior lawyers in the situation have expected. Everybody knows. I mean, I wrote a long piece on Substack if you want to go into the details of when and what the normal situation would be, and then what happens afterwards in terms of the appeals and everything else, which possibly you want to talk about. But the expectation was that it would be out by now, because it should be. It's been long enough. They've had long enough to consider the actual outcome, i.e., have the charges been proven or not, and to write up their decision. They've had long enough. I mean, it's been, we're 11 months on after the end of the hearing. It's really, I think it's been very poorly organised. And for that, you can probably blame all the parties, because they didn't sort of give a very clear enough timetable. They didn't agree a very clear enough timetable with each other, by which there was an expectation as to when it was going to come out. And so now we're in this, potentially bad limbo. I mean, actually, I think City fans in particular have kind of got their heads around it, and the players have got their heads around it, and the club themselves have got their head around it in terms of operating against this backdrop. And I think that applies internally to the people at the club.
It seems to be business as usual for City, to be fair. They don't seem scared of the charges. They've gone on and done what they need to do in the transfer window. Also, January as well.
Well, I think that they are confident. I think that is definitely the case. But you can never be sure about these things.
Yeah.
You know, you can be very confident that you put your case well, that your key messages, your key arguments got across, or that some of the other side's arguments didn't land. But it's very hard to be certain, especially where it's a 3-person panel, just because you don't usually have that insight unless they expressly tell you where they are within the hearing or at the end of the hearing. I mean, they might do that in certain aspects. They might have given pretty firm guidance that certain arguments simply weren't working. But in terms of the overall outcome, it's obviously complex because it's taken as long as it's taken. So, don't know. We will see.
Do you think they could wait till the next international window?
I really can't see it. I mean,
that's just quite far away, isn't it?
I mean, you're talking another 4 months.
Yeah.
I mean, look, nothing is impossible at this stage, but I think it's really unlikely.
Do you know what bothers me with that? And I'm only going to talk from a fan point of view, Stefan, on this. Say you do leave it till March and City are in a position where they are fighting for the title and they are going, you know, to just say we're 5 points clear at the top of the league by March. I don't think it helps the Premier League or City either way in that position.
Yeah, but it's not going to. I mean, yes, you're right. I mean, you know, I think that risk has been there really as soon as the season sort of gets into any level of you know, development. Then you've got the issue you talked about. You know, look, if the decision drops tomorrow, it's going to impact the league table in some way. I don't mean this because there won't be a points decision at this point either way, but it's going to impact things because the whole focus of that lead up into the next set of fixtures, and it's not just going to be one fixture, it's going to be the whole, it's going to completely take over the whole narrative of those game weeks when it happens. And those game weeks might have a Champions League game, a Carabao game, and a Premier League game or two. You know, it's going to be absolutely chaotic either way. Whether it's now or March, obviously, if you start to get into the real meat of the season, you know, March, April, I mean, you know, you would think there's just no way that they can release it at that point. So, you know, I take your point. I mean, there is a limit to when you can actually release it. But I think the problem they've got now is whether it's December, January, February, or March, we got a big problem on our hands in terms of the football calendar and the impact that it's going to have, whatever the decision.
Yeah, it's a good one here. If Man City gets off with the charges, will that mean all Premier League teams will get off with it? I mean, there's
I don't like that wording though. Get off.
I know, get off.
That just sounds like we're just paying to get off.
Yeah, the
Well,
Brown.
no, it's just not. It doesn't. I mean, first of all, it doesn't work like that at all.
Yeah,
What's the suggestion? City, if the charges aren't proven, well, then things just carry on as they are now. I mean, these are charges that relate to activities, some of which were now 15 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I don't really think that it impacts anybody else, whatever the decision.
Yeah, I can't see how that would work because there's new rules in place to stop clubs
Right.
from.
There's a new regime. Right.
So that wouldn't work. There was a good one here that Martin, you sent me. What do you consider the Premier League's strongest piece of evidence?
It's impossible to say because we don't know what the cases look like. We don't even know specifically what the cases are. Now, you know, I say that, but it's very clear from the conversations that we've had over many months that, I mean, a lot of the analysis that we did very early on in the process was right in terms of the core of the case and the similarity of the case to the prior case at Cass, so there's definitely similarities. But in terms of the evidence put before a hearing, we've got very little insight aside from the documents that we've seen in the public domain. But it's very clear that there will be loads more documents, hundreds of thousands more pages of information. So I think it's hard to say what the Premier League's case is founded on beyond the ones we've seen. And I do believe those emails, not necessarily in a hearing, but those emails themselves do raise questions. I don't think City would suggest that that there's nothing in those emails to suggest any of the allegations that have been made. On the face of them, they say certain things that the City would need to address. Now, the surprising thing is they weren't able to address those things in the period before the hearing, i.e., and before the charges. But I think from City's perspective, the strongest evidence is the passage of 10 years of audits, the behaviour of the executives that are there. This is not a situation where they've all kind of resigned. We're talking about the same people being there all the way through. Those same people have fronted it up in every investigation since 2014. So they'd have to be, you'd have to be pretty bold to have done what's alleged and then to have been investigated effectively in 2014, to have been investigated again as part of the leaks by UEFA in 2018 to 2020, then to have been investigated again, and just to have kept fronting it out to say that you didn't do it. That's a pretty bold stance to take. Now, I don't know if all of the allegations are proven, then clearly, the club is going to be in very serious trouble, and those executives that have been involved in it are going to be, again, also with very big questions to answer. But it seems pretty unlikely to me that those people, and I know, quite a few of these people, it's pretty unlikely those people would have been involved in it in the first place. Pretty unlikely they'd have fronted it out for over multiple investigations. Pretty unlikely they'd have hung around to see the outcome of these investigations and charges and everything else over a 15-year period. We're not talking, this is not all Sheikh Mansour and the chairman Khaldoon, although the chairman could easily have resigned as well. We're talking about no real changes to the non-exec directors. There's one or two tweaks around the edges, but no major changes to the non-exec directors. You're talking about an enormous investment from the US, from a fund called Silver Lake. Silver Lake are the fund that's just partnered with the Saudis on the purchase of EA. Very, very well connected. One of the largest venture capital firms in Silicon Valley. They've stuck $500 million, at least $500 million into City since all of this was live. Presumably did a huge amount of due diligence. But I could go on I don't know. We don't know what the case looks like. And we don't know.
I'm also presuming Puma will have done stuff, Stefan. If Puma are willing to put £1 billion into a sponsorship deal, I'm guessing that they've done a lot of due diligence behind it.
Well, you've also got, of course, years and years of audits. I think Puma will have to have done it on the basis of their inquiries to the club. I mean, I'm sure that they asked them outright, what's the situation with the charges? Of course, they have a get out. That was what I was going to ask. Does it get out? It will certainly have a clause that allows them to exit in the event that the decision goes the wrong way. So I don't think it's not binding them in. But that said, it's still obviously very, very significant commitment over a very long period. It's one of the largest kit deals around. There's clearly confidence that it's not all going to be ripped up within, a few months. So I think it's just another one of those signals that the club are confident, are reassuring partners, are continuing business as usual, are investing very, very heavily. As we know, there's an enormous property project with the new stand and with everything that's gone on behind there. There's a huge hotel that it's going to be, it's obviously a very big project. They are not preparing for an adverse decision. That is for sure. Now that doesn't mean that they're obviously that they'll have contingency plans, you would think, but they are definitely very confident, and all the signs suggest that it's highly unlikely that they carried out what is alleged. But we will see.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because the £1 billion deal, you had to take them to court to get that to be pushed through. So why would you do that?
Well, there's a lot of there's a lot of nonsense spoken about those things. So first of all, we're talking Pullman, not Etihad, was the question. I mean, I think the Etihad situation is different. The Etihad deal is worth more than £1 billion, considerably more by the time you take in the indexation, which will keep lifting the deal size over the 10 years. Obviously, it's a related party transaction. There was no issues of that nature with the Pullman transaction, which is another very big transaction that's been signed off over the last few months. So there's no suggestion of any relationship between the club and Puma that requires approval or consideration by the league. So you can put that to one side from that perspective. I think that the whole APT thing is, we have spoken about it before. We can go into it, but the reality is, I think it was tactical, and ultimately, I don't think it was that big a deal. I don't think City got a massive win, but they did get some. I think they got some things out of it, but I don't think it was never going to be the end of football as we knew it. It was never going to be the situation that opened up the door for Newcastle to all of a sudden push through a whole load of deals they've been waiting to push through. I mean, we know that now. Yeah,
it has.
I never thought that that's what was going on, and sure enough, it's not like in the 6 months since they settled it. If it's 6 months, I can't remember when they settled it, but it's probably 6 months now. It's not like all of a sudden Newcastle have, got a big sponsor to the training ground or all these other things that were said to be in the background. So I don't think that's what it was about. City believed that they could challenge it. They warned the Premier League, and ultimately got something out of it. But it didn't, it certainly didn't take down APT. It didn't take down a related party, and it didn't take down PSR. Not that City actually even tried to do that, but look, as usual, a lot of nonsense spoken about these things, about what was going on in the background, why they wanted to do it, etc., etc. I think a lot of these things are a lot more vanilla than people seem to suggest.
Yeah, I agree, and I wasn't expecting, everything to fall and Newcastle rise to the top just like that. There's so much more to it, isn't there? So
I think it is interesting. I mean, we can talk about Newcastle later, but I think it is interesting how conservative Newcastle have been with some of the commercial deals. It does surprise me, and there's the question there. Yeah. To be honest, I don't have a strong opinion on it. The only thing I can think is that all the way along they took a decision that they're going to play it very conservatively, and they're going to try and largely play the game.
Yeah,
they're not going to do a kind of very aggressive American style challenge of every word here and every potential
Do you think they're too whiter than white, though? Or trying to be whiter than white?
Well, look, if I was a Newcastle fan, yes, I would. Of course, I would say that, right? I mean, of course, you would say we don't understand why we don't have a massive stadium sponsor or a massive training sponsor. We know what the parameters are. I mean, it's not like they're unlimited. We know that there are parameters to what you can put through. What will get approved, what's fair value. There's enough indicators in the market to know roughly what you can do. But they've chosen not to do that. And, they haven't even sold the women's team.
No, but we all thought that was we thought every club was going to do that, didn't we? Yeah. Villa did it, didn't it?
Yeah, Villa, Everton,
Yeah.
Obviously Chelsea.
Chelsea.
So they've really not pushed any of these boundaries at all. So I think it is surprising, yeah.
Stefan, for me, I know you talked about communication before, and I just wanted your opinion about maybe how you would have handled that communication line for fans and for just people around, just following it. If you were the Premier League or Man City, would you have done things differently with communication?
Well, I think it's very hard to communicate the detail of the charges. So, because what happens is it's adversarial from the first minute. So City don't have any real input into how the Premier League wants to spin it. Now, the Premier League took a decision to go with a very big number as their headline. Okay, so they wanted people to know that they were charging City with a huge amount of charges, that it was massive, that it was multi-year, that it's very serious. That's what the Premier League wanted to do. Now, I don't think that was strategically, as the Premier League, a sensible thing to do to the club who, on any basis, has been very successful on the pitch, but also, again, on any basis, on a global basis, has been very successful in building its own brand and also assisting with the development of the Premier League overseas, and is clearly, on any basis, one of the most important clubs. So I think they should have handled that with a little bit more sensitivity and care. Okay, they decided to take a very kind of legalistic view that here are the charges, this is what we're going with, and therefore we're going to make a big song and dance about it. Once they'd done that, City were backed into a corner largely, because very little City can say that's going to change the narrative of 115 charges, save to say the stuff they did say, which is not really true, which is we welcome the opportunity to put our case. I mean, that's the sort of thing that people say, in the outside world the whole time. They don't really mean they welcome the opportunity or the case. The case is a disaster in many respects. It's destabilizing. It's extremely expensive. The amount of work that goes into that case over a 5-year period, whatever it's been, is very, very wasteful at the end of the day, even if you win, right?
Yeah.
Because remember, all City win, even if they won on everything, all City win is the opportunity to get a large chunk of the sunk cost back. And even then, it's not even that great, because they've still then got to pay a 20th of them through the back door, because the Premier League are going to have to wear both their costs and City's costs. And that's if City win. Now, if they lose, the consequences are really very, very, very negative, obviously.
Yeah.
And so there's all sorts of problems that come from it. So City don't welcome it. So from a PR perspective, you are kind of boxed in, because these are not matters that you can litigate in the public domain, first of all. You can't even explain it particularly well to most people, right? So, I mean, I've had a good go, obviously, over the last 2 or 3 years, but a lot of people will be turning this off. It's like glazing over. It's so boring, it's so dry. I mean, there are some people who actually do quite like it, but it's almost impossible, certainly to do it by press and PR. It's almost impossible for the club. So they've just got to keep to the line. We've got, irrefutable evidence. Well, that's not really true. Nothing in the world is irrefutable, right? Especially in the world of the best barristers. So they don't really mean irrefutable. What they mean is extremely strong evidence, and that they believe is the answer to the charges. they've got to keep to that line. They've got to keep to the line that they welcome the opportunity to play it out in a 12-week hearing, which they do not, because nobody would do in their right mind. It's a complete nightmare for the people who had to run the case, except for the fees that they got if they were external. But for the club, it's a nightmare. And it's been a nightmare for the club the whole time. It's been hanging over the club for years and years and years. So, you know, but they've got no choice, because there's no way you can properly argue your case substantively from a PR perspective whilst the case is running. Now, once this period's out of the way, let's say they are successful in defending it all, there'll be 400 or 500 pages, let's say, of a decision, right, which will have all the juicy information. And City, hopefully, will be able to then point to a lot of stuff in there and push that narrative in the media. They might choose not to. They may choose to just go quiet and say, right, that's done and dusted. Enough of this nonsense. We all move on. They may choose to do that, or they may choose to push some of their key stories and narratives. But it very much depends on what it says. And now, clearly, it won't just be a disaster for City if City were to be unsuccessful. If it was the other way around and City defend the whole thing, and the judgment and the decision says some pretty bad things about the performance of certain people at the Premier League, or the way they've conducted the case, or whether they should have brought such a serious case and made such serious allegations, if it says things that are critical of the Premier League, then that's going to create a storm in a different way. And City, again, they'll kind of be torn, because in the way that the Premier League should always have been torn on this situation, City will be torn, because, you know, do you want to attack the league that is the centerpiece of your entire business?
Yeah.
You know, maybe not. So anyway, it's complicated. It's legalistic. It's, you know, from a business perspective, interesting if you're into that sort of thing, and dull as anything if you're not.
But it does feel like it's the Premier League have made it you against the rest of the league, haven't they? Which is quite interesting for the fans, because they took a lot of stick. The Liverpool fans saying, obviously, you haven't won your titles fairly and all this sort of rubbish, should be giving our medals to Van Dijk and all this kind of rubbish. So it's kind of like it's a big battle between you and the whole of the Premier League. And it's obviously, I'm on the fence, because I still think you just won't be found guilty. And I've always said that from the start. I think it was just the Premier League trying to flex their muscles and trying to stop another City from happening. Obviously saying to Newcastle, basically, before they got took over, you know, this is what happened to you if you break the rules, sort of thing. And it's going to backfire in the faces, to be fair. And I'll be wrong side just what it does.
That's why I asked, like, from a City fan's perspective, right? Because of the communication, because a lot of fans feel like, even on when Stefan goes on to TalkSPORT, you know, he's really the only one who's talking facts, or, you know, sharing a middle ground approach, when you have other pundits who are just casting aside, you know, or casting a certain belief that then facilitates to other people, and that's all you hear. So,
I actually, I mean, I have some sympathy with, you know, most, you know, certainly most sports journalists. You couldn't really begin to properly digest the case, you know, without having an understanding, quite a lot of understanding of financial mechanics. You know, there's lots of other elements. I mean, you know, those people that are trying to do it on Twitter are able to do it from one perspective, but, you know, it's from, again, from a lack of experience, and with a lack of rounded and nuanced thinking, and overly simplistic sorts of conclusions. And that's very common. You know, I think unless you have been through these sorts of situations before, then maybe you don't realise just how uncertain legal processes are, and the level of the burden of proof You know, do they realise that is the Premier League's? It's not for City to discharge. City don't have to prove their innocence. The way these things work is the Premier League has to prove their case, and they have to prove it to a standard which is still balanced probabilities, but given the nature of the allegations of widespread dishonesty, they have to prove it with, you know, particularly cogent evidence. Why would anyone know any of this stuff unless they'd done their research or actually been involved in similar cases over the years? And so I don't necessarily blame anybody, but it is a nature of the Premier League taking on cases of this nature and of this scale, and that's probably why they shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Because they could have gone after City in a much neater way, a much simpler way, I think.
Yeah,
It actually would have given them a better chance of winning. I mean, I don't know. We don't know what the outcome is. You know, maybe they'll be vindicated absolutely in their process. But I would suggest that spending this kind of money, and it's a lot. If some of the numbers I'm hearing are true, it's a lot. It's hard to believe that is a good use of resource.
Yeah, I think that they've blown a lot of resource recently, haven't they? Right, that's the 115 out of the way. We now got to go on to this lovely new potential voting in of a salary cap. Now, I've read through quite a bit of it, and I come right to the conclusion at the very end, it's not going to happen. But I'm
I think, you know, maybe most of this you can shortcut most of the conversation, because I think and you know, look, I'm wrong all the time, so maybe I'll be wrong on Friday on this one as well. But I think it's unlikely that they'll put the thing to a vote on anchoring, right? Just to explain what anchoring is. So there is a proposal that effectively you cap the total spending of the clubs on player-related spending. So that's manager and also the amortization costs. And agent costs and the players, obviously, you cap that at 5 times the bottom club.
Yep.
And now the bottom club last year was probably 110. People are still talking about 110. It's probably not worth talking about last season. It's probably worth saying actually the number's 120, right, which is the number that it'll be this season, let's say. That means it's a £600 million cap. Now, I don't think a £600 million cap for the stuff we're talking about is that big a deal right now. I mean, the only 2 teams that would really come close to breaching that cap would be PSG and Real Madrid. And even they probably won't breach it. So the English clubs are not really in a materially worse position.
Maybe these numbers are wrong then, because what I've been reading is City spent 413 million on wages last year alone, with total revenues of 115 million.
Yeah, those numbers are wrong, because that's the total wage bill, and that's not the wage bill you would take into account under this rule. Right. You would look at the player wages, and the amortization. So it would be materially less. No, look. Having said that, there are a number of teams who obviously spend quite a lot of money on this stuff, right? You know, especially after the summer, where you've got Liverpool, Arsenal spending big. Yeah. United probably not actually right now. So I'm not saying that it's nowhere near affecting anybody, but it doesn't affect. Nobody's going to breach 600 million on this test.
Yeah.
This season. Okay, it may be the case that there is a competitive issue with Saudi Arabia and Real Madrid and PSG and Barcelona when they come back, and Bayern Munich. But really, that's the size of the global market that this is a challenge to. But anyway, the big point is it's not even clear whether it's legal. So there's a very strong chance. So the way it's tended to work in this country and in the rest of Europe is that a direct salary cap is likely unlawful under competition law, likely. Yeah. And there's multiple articles written by Nick DeMarco that you can see in the public domain if you're interested.
He's a good lad, like Nick.
And Nick, first of all, has won a case against the direct salary cap against the EFL.
Yeah.
And is acting, I think, for the PFA on this situation. So
yeah, I believe he is.
So the chances of a direct salary cap, now this isn't a direct salary cap, but the chances of a direct salary cap being lawful are low. So then you say, well, what if it's an indirect salary cap, which is what anchoring is in some form? What's the chances that that's being legal? Well, obviously nobody knows. Obviously you could get two sets of barristers that tell you totally different things on this point. One will say good chance you're going to win, one will say good chance the other side's going to win, and they'll argue it out, and it'll be a very nuanced and very detailed competition law, very dry, similar to the APT case, really, really best lawyers in the country type stuff, and one side will win. But guaranteed there's a strong risk that the Premier League loses. And I say that's not a risk the Premier League can take. And so I think it'll be pulled, because I just don't think that the Premier League, in its current position, having spent what it's spent on these cases recently, having lost a competition law case against City in respect of APT, I don't think it's in a position to say, well, let's just see what happens. We'll put it through, and let's just see whether the agents, who, by the way, won a competition cap case against the FA 3 years ago, I don't think the FA are going to do that. The Premier League are going to take that risk. As I say, I'm often wrong. And the Premier League, I think, take a view that they will go ahead with some of these legal things, even in the face of the sort of logic that I've talked about. But I think it's unlikely. That leaves you with a conversation about squad cost control. Squad cost control we already have for 9 out of the 20 teams, because 9 out of the 20 are already captured by a form of squad cost control in the UEFA rules.
Yeah.
Except the UEFA
SDR,
rules,
isn't it?
Yeah. So the UEFA rules are 70%, whereas some of these rules will be 85 if you're not in Europe. But of course, the other interesting thing about the UEFA rules is that UEFA don't allow a whole load of things that are allowed in the Premier League. And that affects Newcastle in particular,
Chelsea.
because Chelsea, Aston Villa, Everton, any of these teams that have done the women's team sale, have done the property sale, and in Newcastle's case, have done related party player transfers. All of those things are adjusted for UEFA in a different way to the adjustment that takes place in the Premier League.
So we're talking about the sale of ASM for 25 million.
And you can read all about it. If you can decode what it says in the back of the Newcastle accounts, you can read all about the adjustments that have been made over the last 2 years for Newcastle's related party transactions. But it also, with Newcastle, specifically includes the major sponsorships.
Oh, so Salah, Noon.
Yeah, they're all detailed in the back of the account.
Right. See, I did not know that.
So some of the sponsorship agreements, ultimately there won't be a difference in the approach, because it just needs to be market value. The player situation is a completely different treatment. Right. And in the Chelsea case, again, a completely different treatment. It's basically disregarded. The property sale would be disregarded. So anyway, the point I'm making is that we already have a league that half the league is already working on form of SCR. Yeah. So that may come in. But then what we're hearing, and remember, it only needs 3 or 4 probably to reject it, because there'll always be a couple that won't vote and that will abstain. So it probably only needs an objection from 3 or 4, maybe 5. Problem you've got is it's whereas anchoring only affects teams at the very top of the table, because there's no possibility ever that Crystal Palace, Brentford, Bournemouth, all these teams, there's no possibility they're ever going to get to 5x cost.
Yeah.
It's completely irrelevant to them. It's completely a cap for those teams at the top. The difference is with the 85% SCR proposal, that does affect teams like Bournemouth, Palace, these teams, Brentford. They actually think they'll be in a worse position from squad cost control than they would be under the current PSR system. Yeah. So again, you question whether they're going to want to vote for that. But, and this is the last word because I'll put people to sleep on the rest of it, but the really tricky thing that the Premier League has got here is if they just end up canning both of those two systems, squad cost control and anchoring, they've just spent the last 2 years going over this stuff, drafting it up, running shadow systems, testing it out, and then they'll literally put it in the bin and won't even vote on it, potentially. That'd be very embarrassing, I think.
Yeah, it would be. So basically, Palace getting into Europe this year is a massive debt to them, isn't it, really?
Well, it puts in place, it gives them another challenge from a regulator. Yeah. I think that'd be okay. I haven't done numbers recently on it, but in any event, squad cost control for UEFA only has a financial penalty unless you breach it continuously for 3 or 4 years. So that part of that's easy. And then there's the other bit of the UEFA rules, which is effectively a form of PSR. It's the same sort of system, earnings based, but with a lower limit. So, but yes, I mean, in theory, a number of the teams, if they were to qualify for Europe, would end up with a whole load of regulation they couldn't deal with.
Yeah.
I.e. they would breach. And that's why, to bring it back to Newcastle, that's why you should expect that Newcastle will breach UEFA rules for earnings for last season.
Yeah.
Obviously, they weren't in the competition last season, but that is tested for this season.
Yeah.
If they were to qualify for the for Europe next season, then you will see that they've breached. I mean, to be honest, you'll see they've breached anyway, because what will happen is at the end of this season, you will get an announcement similar to the Aston Villa announcement or the Chelsea announcement about a settlement agreement that they've entered into with UEFA that lasts for 2 or 3 years, and a €5 million fine, probably similar to the Aston Villa situation.
So I think now we've realised why Newcastle are so shite this season. They don't want to qualify for the Champions League again.
Well, they're going to qualify via the Champions League.
Stefan, I had a question along those lines. How long could a club like an Aston Villa or Newcastle not be in Europe to where it really hurts them financially?
Well, it'll hurt any team that's put their cost base to a point where they rely upon certainly Champions League to meet their expenses. Then clearly, if you fail to qualify for the Champions League, it's like being relegated. It's another, it's like another parachute is required, except it doesn't exist. So if you're a Premier League club and you get relegated, you have at least for two seasons, you've got the parachute payments. But in the scenario where you are in the Champions League one season and out of it the next, there's no parachute. So you set up a cost base, and City are a good example. Well, and Newcastle are almost a better example from before, but at least when Newcastle had the season in and the season out, in the season out, they hadn't set up in the season they went in. Their cost base wasn't set up to be in the Champions League every season. It was quite well managed, so it wasn't that big a deal.
Yeah.
If City or when United dropped out of it, or if Liverpool don't make it one season, the whole cost base of the entire club is set up to be in Champions League football. So they budget for being probably quarter final of Champions League most seasons. So they're probably in their budget. They probably got something like 100 million quid for the following season. So if you're not in the Champions League, all of a sudden your budget's got a massive hole in it. Now it's a bit different in the Europa because it's just a much less, valuable trophy, even if you win it. But it can also apply in those scenarios where the club has set up its cost base to require qualification for, at least the Europa, for example. If you don't then make it, you've got a very big hole in your profit and loss for the following season, and it's not that easy to fill that hole because there's not that much you can do. These clubs, most of the levers that they can play with, unless you're Barcelona, they don't. You can sell a player. I mean, there's not that much else you can do. You can't just magic up another 20 million quid of sponsorship from nowhere.
But Barca did a good effort doing that, selling the TV rights, didn't they?
Well, but the Barca situation is really pretty. Well, their man Real Madrid they're both fairly unique situations. I mean, if anybody is really interested in the Barcelona situation, that Swiss Ramble wrote I don't know how long it must have taken him. I mean, literally days, because it's so complicated. And there's so many very odd transactions in there that they're not comparable. But unless you're a Barcelona, you are screwed if you unexpectedly don't qualify for a tournament you expect to qualify for.
Makes sense. There was a good question here because it's one that I'm quite interested in, with them being our arch rivals. Do we think Sunderland's big spending will hit them with PSR next season, or do you think they've got enough in the bank to maybe get another season out of what they're doing? Depending if they stay up, I suppose. That's going to be
well, the first thing to say is we don't have loads of information because we haven't seen, for example, we've got no clue what their wage bill might be. Yeah. I think, you could definitely work on the basis that it's probably double plus 20% versus last season. I don't know where that pitches them. It would be really very, very silly to come up and breach straight away.
Yeah.
But of course, we have seen teams do it. Okay. So I don't rule it out completely. They did sell Bellingham for a lot of money.
It's true.
So that was a very big PSR profit. Probably what was it? 30, 25?
25, wasn't it?
Yeah. I don't know who else they sold, but they probably could. You would think if they continue this sort of form, I mean, I don't expect them to finish where they are at the moment, but if they're broadly in line with this kind of, finish top, let's say finish 10th, don't qualify for Europe, but have done well, which is probably where, when you've got that many points, is probably where they're going to finish. You would think that they've got one or two players who have greatly exceeded what they were purchased for because they've had such a good season in the Premier League, and you can then sell those players on. So,
yeah,
they've probably got some outs. If they have got a PSL problem, they've probably got some options.
Yeah, especially the striker. I mean,
but I haven't modelled it out, and we just don't have the data to know what they did. I could have a look what they did last season actually.
I feel really dirty. I've typed Sunderland into my phone. I try to have a look myself, but it feels horrible. There's another good one while you're searching for that. Does the 300 million spend on the North Stand expansion hinder us for spending in the windows? Isn't the cost of a stadium upgrade doesn't come into PSR, does it?
No, that's a City question. Actually, you haven't answered. No. I mean, it's not. It doesn't. It's a cash situation. You assume they've got the cash. So clearly somebody's got to actually pay the cash over, but it's not from a PSR perspective. It doesn't impact at all. Yeah. In fact, what happens is when you open it, you get the revenue boost and the profit boost. So, so let's have a look.
I thought that's what it meant. it's under 18 as well, isn't it? When you buy players under 18, they don't go towards your PSR balance. So 16, 17-year-olds, the wages don't include it in PSR either.
Yeah, you get adjustments for depreciation, youth development, community, and women's football, and the stadium would be within that depreciation situation. Has been an allowance. I think from what I can see here, Sunderland got plenty of capacity.
Martin, anything?
It's slightly more complicated because it's not completely clear whether they had a maximum allowance of 39 or 15, but either way, I mean, even at 15 they were okay. And actually, I reckon that they had a limit of 39, so I think they'll be okay. And there is another little, slightly surprising little wrinkle that we saw with Ipswich, where if you pay, usually these teams have got the best part of 20 million quid bonuses to the players if they get promotion. But what the Premier League allows you to do is it doesn't disappear, but it doesn't count in the first season back.
Right.
So when they put in their accounts for January, in December, for the season ended 30th of June 2025, they won't need to include any bonuses paid upon promotion. So again, they should be fine.
Yeah. Martin, any more questions from you in regards to PSR or going into the transfer January window? Any questions?
No. The only question I had for Stefan was going back to the 115, and I don't like doing the backwards.
No.
And it's a question that I get a lot, and you probably get it a lot on X, Stefan. And for me, I think it's emotive driven more than it's. And I think we spoke about it before. But there is this belief if City win, are proven not guilty in the 115, that because I get a lot of City fans think they're then going to go on a legal tirade with every single club, the Premier League, everyone. We're going to fight back. We're going to destroy everyone. And personally, for me, I just think that ain't going to happen unless you're on a legal footing to do that. I don't think it could work.
There's no, I think you've got two scenarios. You've got one where, let's say City are cleared and the decision says, maybe it says, well, they should have cooperated more and that it was legitimate for the Premier League to ask these questions, and there's no criticism of the approach of the Premier League in their investigation and their prosecuting of the case, and it was all a very fair battle in front of this panel, and they're almost not complimentary, but they're very forgiving of the Premier League in this scenario where they've lost. And if they're very forgiving and the decision says nothing bad about the Premier League, then it's going to be extremely hard for City to try and pursue any wrongful investigation claim or damages or any of that sort of thing, because ultimately the Premier League will say we had a right to discipline the club. Okay, we've lost. It's similar to the Paquetá case. You don't win them all. I mean, I know the Paquetá case is the FA, but it's the same underlying kind of scenario. Yes, we've lost, but nobody said we've done anything wrong, except that maybe we should have won the case if we're going to bring such serious allegations. Here's your costs, Manchester City, and everybody goes off into the sunset. That's one scenario. And in that case, I don't see that City are going to be suing anybody. Again, I've been wrong many times. I probably would not have envisaged them taking the APT case, for example, especially when it happened. I may well be wrong. Now, there's another scenario where, and I think this is extremely unlikely, but there's another scenario where the decision says the Premier League acted appallingly. It brought the case in bad faith. It should never have brought the case. there was never a basis on which to charge City, let's say.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think it's going to say this. Almost certainly will not say this.
But it could.
If it did, then that would put the situation in a slightly different situation. It would put it in a different realm, and City may well, in that scenario, consider its legal options to take action, because clearly it would have been proved to have been an unfounded case, and in that scenario, you may have more leeway. But I mean, even then, I think it would be very hard for City. But I think they definitely investigate it more in that scenario.
Interesting. Here's another good one. More back on Newcastle and January window stuff. Does Stefan know how the Isaac sale affects our accounts wise, despite spending big in the summer? So
you've got a load of money to spend.
We have, haven't we?
I mean, when the way PSR works on a situation like this, if you make a very big profit, it brings it all forward into the year in which the transaction takes place. And we know that all the signings you make are amortized over 5 years. Yeah. So you get this very big pull forward of the profit, which obviously then increases your cap for PSR purposes, because it puts in place the profits effectively get added to the 105.
Yeah. You
then take off, a fifth of the signings you've made plus their wages, but you've also saved the wages on ESAC. So it makes a very big difference, and it will give them a lot more leeway if they choose to do that. The only thing that they need to watch is a sort of West Ham situation, which is when you get to the end of the period, the 3-year period, and the profit comes off because it's no longer counted, because it's year 4 of the 3-year test, you've still got remaining 2 more years of the amortization of the players that you purchased using that money. So there's this mismatch, which means that you can have a problem. Villa had it with Grealish, right? So big profit in that year. 3 years down the line, they're on the verge of failing all the tests because the profits dropped off. West Ham, similarly, and that's the only risk you've got. But in the short term, you have a massive opportunity to invest. So, especially if you've got Champions League as well, and this is, remember, people we'll see when we've got a long time to wait, but when you see the results, when you compare the Champions League results revenue compared to when you're there 2 years ago, you'll see the difference. I mean, it is going to be worlds apart. I mean, you could easily you'll definitely double it.
Yeah.
And depending on how you carry on, you could even treble it.
Wow. I'm glad you explained that like that, because that's exactly what I said to everyone on some of my shows recently about how much people think we'll have in January. And I said, it's all good and well for a couple of years, but then when it drops off and it moves on a couple of years, you've got to be very careful of where you're at, because you might need to sell a big star again to be able to keep up with what you've done.
The teams, the teams that have managed PSR the best are teams that have combined spending with sales.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's just hard to know when to sell and to take the pain of selling.
Yeah, well, it's having that conveyor belt, isn't it? Like City, you've got.
Well, it's having young players ideally. I mean, it's when you even look at Manchester United, and you see them selling Garnacho, who's effectively a player they want out, and arguably failed to an extent, but yet they bring in 40 million quid, which goes straight to the bottom line on PSR and really makes a big difference. It's a really big boost from a PSR perspective, because it just increases your caps straight away.
Makes sense. So there we go, guys. We know we're in a good position going in the January window. Any other questions for Stefan before we go?
I've just got to grab the door, and then you can ask me a final question. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fine. Martin, do you want to get a question lined up?
No, I just think, like Blue Arts put in the comments, I think there is the belief that, I know he answered it, but there is this that City are entitled to automatic. I think because I think it's an emotive thing again. City fans feel as though they have been dragged through the mud. The club's been dragged through the mud, and surely there should be some, loss of, what's the word? From a
loss
league.
of earnings.
Well, it's a reputational damage. I mean,
it's reputational damage.
It's kind of a Trump BBC type allegation.
Trump.
I mean, there's even this belief we didn't get players because of the 115, and we didn't get this because of that, and there's lots of earnings.
None of that would work anyway on a remoteness basis. So you'd never be able to
prove it unless you get them under oath.
It's a bit strong. I mean, there may well have been a player, in theory, that sent an email, or his agent sent an email and said the player would sign, but based on the 115, he's going to Real Madrid, right? I don't know, and that player then went on to be sold for 10 times what Real Madrid paid for him. In that scenario, yes, you could try and create a case, but it's all very unlikely.
You've got to get the player to stand under oath and say, yes, I didn't join because of this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
Well, you'd point to the evidence, to the email, the contemporaneous email at the time. That would obviously be very powerful, and if you could get the player to turn up to court and give a witness statement to the hearing rather than court, to give a witness statement that confirmed what was in the contemporaneous paperwork, or the agent to come and do it, then of course, then it starts to look much more promising for in terms of compensation. But look, none of that's going to happen, so I wouldn't waste much time on it.
Okay. There's the last question for you. Will an independent football regulator have any say in the makeup or future of PSR? It's a good question. Nope. There we go. Done.
It's a very simple question. The IFR. So it is surprising. The IFR does have a lot of power, but it's mostly limited to the licensing of clubs and therefore owners who are currently in place, to the licensing and approval of new owners, and to the monitoring of effectively distressed clubs. So all the clubs all the Premier League clubs won't have a problem with any of this stuff. They've been doing this, putting forward their financial information to the leagues for a long time. So it won't be an issue for them. And they've obviously got huge internal teams. So it's not going to be, the IFI is not going to have much of a role in respect of Premier League clubs, save for the scenario where one goes very badly wrong in a kind of Portsmouth type situation, which is pretty unlikely these days anyway. And so I think you're going to find the IFR is far more involved in the rest of the clubs and also sorting out the financial deal between the EFL and the Premier League. I guess there's one proviso to that, which is that nothing material changes in the way that these clubs are funded. If for example Sky say no more next time, and they say we're not interested, we've decided we're not doing sport anymore, right? Again, it's not going to happen, but let's say they did, then that could be more of a challenge for the IFR, because you may end up with a situation where there are more problems in the Premier League, because of course their cost bases are set up for revenues that include a minimum of 120 million, even for the bottom club. So that's how the whole setup, that's how they man themselves up. That's how they pay the wages. It's all set up to be underpinned by 120 of TV money. I don't know, if you're in Newcastle, maybe 50 million quid, maybe a bit less of match day. and then whatever you can do on the commercial side.
Interesting. There we go. What a great show. We've gone way past the hour, so we'll probably say 9 minutes isn't that bad, to be fair. But Stefan, thank you very much. We'll unfreeze you again in the summer if that's okay. Hope you've enjoyed yourself, Martin, as well. Ed, hope you enjoyed that. Thank you, everyone in the chat.
Yeah, no, thank you, Stefan.
Cheers.
Really, really enjoyed it. Go and enjoy your evening, Stefan, and whatever's just turned up at your door.
No.
Do you know what? I quit 5 minutes on Friday, Saturday.
No.
I'm not.
Look at him. He's already off. He don't want to talk about the weekend.
No, we can talk about the game. I don't know. I'm surprised it's taken us so long to talk.
That's Stefan. I meant that's because I know
Stefan
you have
wants
to
to talk about the game as well.
Talk about the game.
The
I'll listen in on YouTube about the game. How about that?
Yeah. Oh, God. It's
I
gonna
wouldn't
be
like to if the weather continues like this. I imagine at 6 o'clock in the gods up there in the away end,
yes.
it's going to be absolutely freezing.
Yeah.
Gonna need your winter woolies.
Oh, you're going to need more than that. You're going to need the hand warmer things you put in your pockets. You're going to need everything. You're going to need 4 pairs of socks on.
City fans won't be jumping up and down a lot.
Oh, there it is. Jumping up and down 5 times or something like that. Yes, it'll be cold.
See that? Somebody said it's going to snow and it might be off.
Yeah, I mean, there is a potential chance that could happen.
I like the way he's got all these prayer emojis though after it. Though.
Yeah.
Praying it is.
I mean,
why is it a bad time? I know obviously you've been crap in the league, but injury-wise, what's
injury-wise isn't that bad, to be fair. I mean, Tino's obviously still out. Hall will be pushed back into the team, which is a good thing. Other than that, we're really not that bad. We're just not playing well.
No Dan Burn.
No, yeah, but he's just said it's better. He seems pleased about it.
Yeah,
You'd rather have Hall.
I'd rather have Hall as a left back, 100%. I love Dan Burn as a left centre back. So if you said to me, Dan Burn and Botman are playing and Chow and Shaw are sitting out, I wouldn't be worried. But if you told me Lewis Hall's missing out and Dan Burn's playing at left back, I'd be terrified.
Right. And the whole of the midfield's the same?
It should be, yeah. Yeah. Oh, apart from Joe Linton. He picked up a bit of an injury.
Well, that's a pretty big apart from, isn't it? Oh, he's not playing well?
One game in the last 7 he's played well in.
Right. Okay.
So
Ramsey's not that much better, to be honest.
Harsh, but fair. But Tonali, Bruno, potentially Miley, potentially Ramsey. So you might get a bit of joy there. Gordon's been terrible. I think he might still have a hip injury. I'm not sure. He wasn't in the England setup. He didn't play, did he, the last 2 England games?
I think because of the timings, it's quite important that City get the win. So it's
a huge game. I mean, the one thing I will give us is that we're always up for the big games. Look at our Champions League form. You know, the big games, we seem to, even though we don't win them all, like the Arsenal game, the Liverpool game, we took them as deep as we could in those 2 games. We took Barcelona deep into that game as well. That's the thing that you just need to be worried about a little bit. But every time we take you deep, you always come up with an answer.
No, it's also Saturday night. It's not ideal for us, that. I'd rather 12:30 would have been better.
Yeah, under the lights,
you
know. But yeah, it'll be very interesting game.
It won't bother the Norwegian lad up front if it's a bit cold. Won't bother him.
1 goal. And how many years has he been in the league against Newcastle? 1 goal. It's not good form, is it? You'll score a hat-trick now, I've said that. Or you'll probably put 5 in at the Gallagher.
No, you're right. He is terrible. You're right.
He's just terrible against us.
Yeah. He's absolutely awful. Don't know what he's doing. How many did he get tonight? How many did he score tonight for Norway?
Let's have a look. Stefan's obviously very disgusted with what I said there, so he's disappeared. Voldemort has scored for Germany tonight.
Was it tonight or last night? I don't know. Gavardio scored tonight. Oh, no. Well, was playing anyway. Oh, was it last night? Norway played. When did Norway? No, last night. Sorry.
Yesterday.
He got 2, didn't he?
He scored 2 last night.
Yeah, he scored 2, yeah. Yeah, but again, I'll keep saying
It's
it
not
every time he
past
comes in.
Donnarumma. No one else can score past Donnarumma, but Haaland can. You know what I mean? It's not like
Germany have got 6 tonight. Germany have got 6 tonight.
Yeah, but Florian
Netherlands have
Wirtz
got
got
4.
assists. Yeah, Mamouche has scored.
Doku had a good game as well. Doku versus Trippier. That's going to be lovely.
That's going to be murder. That's going to be assault. Doku's just going to run past him, and Trippier will be like twisted blood.
It's too early to talk about the game. Don't ruin my week.
Are we doing a preview? When's the preview?
Well, I've got one on Friday. We can do 2, one on mine, one on yours on Friday.
Well, you're not inviting me over on Friday. That's a bit rude.
Just said we can do 2. We can do one on mine and one on yours. I'll do mine at 7:30 with you guys on, and then when that's finished, we'll jump over and do yours a little bit. And then you can hammer me as much as you want, like you always do.
That's what City normally do to you.
Oh, come on.
I was watching one tonight, and someone said Newcastle are going to have all the possession. We need to keep the ball. I said, keep the ball. We want you to keep the ball now. We don't want possession anymore. Have the possession.
We won't have all the possession.
Have it. I think you're in for a shot the way we make play.
But Baz, I don't think Miley's going to be in this game. I don't think Hal does that to Miley. I don't think he does that.
No.
I think it's going to be. I don't want to talk about the game. It's fucking Monday.
He's nervous, isn't it? He's nervous, the lad.
So wait, if you lose this game, do you go down to relegation? Does that make you?
It's
16?
a possibility. It's a possibility. It could happen. Yeah. All depends.
Is Eddie Howe still better than Pep Guardiola, Gary? Just asking, mate.
He just likes to wind you up. I've got is Ifan one of your mates?
Seeing as this is Oil Brothers, can I tell them that I did got, and I think you've had it now.
Oh,
there is genuine interest from Newcastle in James Trafford and Oscar Bob for January. Would you have them?
Do you know what it is? I've thought about it quite a bit, and actually today when I was at work.
Is this after our discussion on it though?
Yeah.
You were thinking, right.
Yeah, because
bring us the money.
I wouldn't have put them two in our January bracket, because the simple fact is we've got Pope and Ramsdale. So why are we after Trafford? Doesn't really make sense. But then you mentioned there's an option to buy. Then it makes a little bit of sense.
Yeah, that's what I think it'll be. I think it'll be a low with an option to buy.
Yeah, because I don't think with Ramsdale we have that. I think Ramsdale's just a straight loan for the season. I don't think there's any option or
straight loan.
Yeah, so that would then make sense if we go for Trafford and then trigger an option to buy. So yeah, but then again, you've got 3 top English goalkeepers vying for one spot, and whether Trafford would be happy to be fighting.
I think you'll send Ramsdale back.
That's if there's an option to send him back. We don't know what the terms of the loan is, whether it's a season-long loan and you can't send him back, then...
No, I meant send him back at the end of the season.
Oh, yeah.
I think if he said to Trafford, come in and compete for 6 months, and then you become our number 1, then I can, you'll just send Ramsdale back then. Yeah.
100%. But I don't think there's any option to buy Ramsdale, so that's the only way it makes sense for me. Oscar Bob is a strange one, because where would he play for us?
He can play the 10.
But then we've got Voldemort. I think we will when Wiss is back. I think we change our formation to 4-2-3-1. And I think Voldemort becomes the 10 and Wissa becomes the 9.
I think you play him on the right wing instead of Alanga. Or whoever you got.
Alanga, Murphy. I mean, is that Oscar Bob's favourite position? Is that where he's going to excel? This is the thing for me when you look at Oscar Bob. Is he someone who, like you mentioned to me many, many times, Martin, how do Newcastle go to the next level? Mm-hmm. Does Oscar Bob take us to that next level? I don't think he does. I think he's a very good player. I think he'd be a very good squad player.
I can see Bob and Baltimore linking up very well. If Bob is in the 10, he's the striker, because
possibly.
I think you play
I think that would
you
work
play
really
wingers
well.
like wingers though. At your gaff, we don't. That's where I think Bob would get joy, because I think Bob would be allowed to run the line at the by and put the cross in. At City, you don't tend to do that. It's the wing backs doing that, and the wingers invert into the middle.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem. And with Bob, he's got so much traffic in front of him with Foden, with Cherky, with Mamouche. I don't see him ever getting into this team fuller. The trouble is, I'm always City's the echelon, the top. Sometimes you've got to take a step back for your own career. It's not a bad thing.
No,
Yeah,
of
he's
course
over
it's
the
not.
injury.
You know, and I think it would only be a loan with Bob. I think Trafford would be the loan with the option.
But that's the thing that Eddie Howe doesn't like doing. He doesn't like loaning players and improving them and to send them back to a team. He wants players he knows he can.
That's what we've had that
energy into. Yeah,
we've had that because Pep's fuming over the Echeverry situation at Leverkusen. He's gone there and just not been played. Well, that's a waste of everyone's time and effort.
Yeah, of course it is. Absolutely, and we've had that with a few of our players recently, but they've just
you guys got right.
Yeah, Cordoni or whatever he's called. He went out on loan, never gets a game. Happened with the Australian kid we had, still got. He went out on loan to a few places, never got a game. It was just like, well, what's the point? You know, and you can't force a manager to pick a player if they don't think he's at that level. But it just makes you wonder why they're letting him go out on loan to a team where he's not going to get a game. It just seems absolutely crazy. But Bob's an interesting one, and Bob would only work for me. That's it, Cahool. Garen Cahool. Forgot his name for a second. Bob would only work for me if we had an option to buy. Because I don't see the point in taking him on loan and then him being sent straight back to City afterwards. Doesn't make sense.
40 million buy option sounds good. 40, 50.
I think he's worth 40 easily, yeah.
I don't think we'll sell him.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, the player's got to think about his career, though, hasn't he? Like Alvarez did, going to Atletico. Because you put like a buyback in it, or you put like a sell-on clause or something where you're still gonna.
I mean, I'm going to talk about it tonight. I think there'll be movement with City in and out in Jam, and I think there could be quite a bit of movement in and out Jam.
Right.
I think there'll be some surprises. With players not currently playing. The problem is it's that World Cup year, isn't it?
Yeah,
that World Cup year. There's players sat on the City bench at the minute who would get in probably 17 of the 20 Premier League clubs, and they need to be playing.
Yeah,
you know, you got the likes of John Stones, Nathan Ake, Rico Lewis, just sat there, and they're not even getting
started for England as well, didn't he? The other night, he had a
and he's starting for England, but can't start for City.
It's happened a few times with England players, hasn't it? Ake, we did mention Ake, to be fair. We mentioned him as a backup left back. And again,
I got a little, I was going to announce this tonight. I got a sneaky little thing of John Stones might be one who goes in Jam.
Wow. Where to, though? Everton?
Don't know.
And then that'll free up, who's their star centre-back that everyone wants? Braithwaite.
Oh, bro, he's injury prone though.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, but again, it just depends on big clubs. They want that English centre back, don't they? Especially Man United. So if they signed a John Stones, you could maybe see him being sold potentially.
Yeah,
that's interesting. I wouldn't take Stones on you. I mean, where
I think January will be busy. I keep saying it. I think this January will be a busy one with the World Cup coming up.
I think we have to be busy where we are in the league, to be fair. We need at least two signings to.
I mean, I'm gonna say this now, and I'm gonna get shouted at because I'm trying to stay away from the ITK stuff. But City still have an interest in Rodrigo. That's why I think Bob might be surplus at the moment. I think City are keeping an eye on Rodrigo as well. I don't think that interest has died. Yeah,
and that means the Bob deal would definitely have to be a sale, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Because Bob's not going to fight for his... Well, he'll fight for his place, but he knows he's probably fighting a losing battle, isn't he?
Yeah. But we'll have to see. Because I got the Rodrigo stuff at the very same time that I got the Bob Trafford stuff about Newcastle.
Stone's decent. Needs to play them. Yeah.
I would agree with that, but I think it comes down to the desire of people wanting to play.
Ego
as well.
of players, man. You got to factor in the ego of these players who are at the top level.
Well, I mean, he's how long has he been the servant of your club now? It's been a while, hasn't it?
9 years.
9 years.
Yeah, he's been fabulous. When you think about it,
he was Pep's. Was he his first signing or his second? Him or Gundogan, one of the two. One of them were the first ones.
No, didn't know that. There you go. So yes, everyone join us on Friday for, I would say, 7:30 till about 8:30, and then we'll do yours 9 till 10. Yeah,
we'll sort some up. We'll have a wind up. Don't worry. Funnily enough, I had tickets for the game given to my brother because I'm at a concert. I'm at a concert Saturday night, so I won't even watch the game because I'm literally going to be in the Co-op Arena.
I would have sat in the away end.
No, you wanted them.
Now I'm going to the pub.
No, you wanted them. So my brother's going to go instead of me, but yeah, because you do digital tickets now, don't you, you little sods?
Yes, we do.
Sod bags.
Yeah, I hate it. It's crap.
Trying to transfer that over was a pain in the ass. I'm going to
go on, keep talking. I'm just putting them.
Hitch Radio Christmas special at the Co-op. All the families going. We were taking me young lad and that. I don't even know who's even on this bloody gig. I don't even know.
It'll be Madonna.
No, I'll tell you now, Manchester Hitch Radio concert. I'll tell you the lineup. What's the bloody lineup? Right, the lineup is Ollie Mers, Craig David.
Oh, Mr. David. Craig David.
Tiny Temper. Ellie Anderson. Jax Jones. Don't know who that is.
Wait a minute. Ellie Anderson, is that Elliot Anderson's sister?
I haven't got a clue. The only one I know there is probably Sugar Babes because they're all kind of fit.
That is terrible.
And Craig David. That's it.
Craig David.
Oh, Craig David.
I used to love that.
Rewind. Yeah. And Ollie Mers. My God, it's going to be like 1990 all over again.
I love it. Right, everyone. See you on Friday. I'm definitely not doing anything till Friday.
I have no clue who these people are talking about right now. Who these people are?
You're too young, Ed. Too young. Right. Good night, everyone.